Hello, good morning. Hopefully this is working. Let's see. I don't know if it went on a different channel or still learning all of this. Let's see if it worked. Still not working. Okay. It says it's live. Oh, there we are. Hello, good morning. I was messing up. It's such a lag here. Bad thing about living in the country is it definitely lags. Hope y'all are having a good Thursday. I'm excited about doing this today. And I hear you're fine. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. I did it, and then it was like nothing. So it's like, what? Hi, California Dasher. How are you? California Line Dasher. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that. So we've done we've done 6 chapters so far. 1 through 6. So the first 4 chapters we did about the 7 churches, and now we're in the visions of God. So I'm really excited about learning this. I did not go into any rabbit holes this time, so hopefully I can stay focused and not get all off track this time. So I just wanted to do a quick review, especially some of you that haven't been here yet. So what we learned at the beginning was John wrote Revelations while exiled into the island of Patmos, and he wrote a letter to the 7 churches. And we learned that they're located in Turkey, not near Israel, which we found interesting. Personally found interesting. So the 7 churches are up there in Turkey, and Israel's down here. So kind of interested in what their significance is. So hopefully we'll figure that out closer to the end. And the vision begins. God's on a throne. There's 24 elders and 4 beasts. And then we have, we did learn about the 7 spirits of God. I wanted to make sure I remembered that the Lord, wisdom, spirit, understanding, counsel, might, and knowledge. And then Jesus was the only one that was able to open the sealed book, right? So what happens once he opened the sealed books? We got to 6 seals. So the first seal was the white horse to conquer, the red horse to take peace, the black horse, pair of balances, the pale horse was death, seal 5 was souls, the seal 6 was great earthquake. And then I put the east, west, north, and south there because we know that the black horse was on the north part, but depending on what you're reading and what your research is, if the other horses were in different quadrants of the earth. So I put a question mark because it's not clear. So hopefully we'll learn more about that as we go as well. I'm really trying to figure out, location and spacing, and then also what the time frames are. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure I know all these things so we can learn. And then we were talking last week about the number 7. So I just did a Google search. What is a 7 in the Bible? You know, you have 7 days of the week. You have 7 this. We have the 7 lamps, the 7 seals, the 7 angels. Everything seems to be 7. And so per Google, it's supposed to mean completion and perfection, or the completion of a cycle and perfection. So I thought that was definitely interesting. Is there anything that you think the first 6 chapters of Revelations covered that I did not write on the review that you feel like is significant? I know we have a little bit of a lag, so I'll just give it a minute. All right, as we go along, we're going to skip this slide because we're going to start reading Revelations chapter 7. And if you're new here, so what I use is the King James BibleOnline.org. It's fantastic. It's easy for me to read it. You can read right along. You're welcome to have your Bible with you. But this just makes it nice, and it's easier for me to read than read out of my Bible. So here we go. Chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor any tree. So I just have to stop here. It's kind of a funny thing for my husband and I. We argue if the earth is flat or is it round? What is the earth? So he's a flat earther and I'm not. So we have these arguments all the time. It's kind of funny. And then I read this and I'm like, I drew pictures. I don't know where they're at, but I drew pictures like, all right, if it's round, where are the four angels going to be, right? How can they be at the four corners? So, and if you do a flat earth, it's easy to figure out where those four angels are. So I told my husband, I'm like, all right, maybe you're right. Maybe it is a flat earth. So he was having fun with that verse, needless to say. What do you think? Is it a flat earth or a round earth? Just thinking about the four angels standing on the four corners of the earth. How do you do that if it's a globe? I don't know the answer. All right, so I did want to do a reference point here. Daniel 7:2. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens drove upon the great sea. So 4 comes in play. We're talking about winds. Put that interesting. All right, so then we're going to verse 2. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. Well, I struggled with this a lot, with this particular verse. I struggle with it because I always thought like people would have a number on their forehead or whatever if they weren't God's people. So, and we'll revisit this verse later on in chapter 8 or chapter 9. In chapter 9, we'll revisit this verse. But yeah, I just didn't understand that. I always thought it was the mark of the beast. You didn't get nothing on your forehead, blah blah blah. And then I read this, and then where does that come from? What does that mean? So it was kind of an eye-opener. And then in chapter 9 we'll look at it again. But in this next one it says, and I heard the number of them which sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 all tribes of the children of Israel. So when I googled the whole seals on the servants of God's and their foreheads, and I googled that, and it said it's for these 144,000 people. So I don't know. Okay, let's see what Wayne says. I think the things in Revelations are harder to comprehend because the points of reference are not as related as in Jesus' parables. I think so too. And I think that it's almost like a nitty-gritty thing. And what I'm learning is if you don't know the history of the Bible, it makes it complicated, I think. I mean, that's how I'm feeling about it. Is like, okay, as I'm learning Revelations, the less history I know, the harder it is to comprehend Revelations. So it has made me want to go, after we're done with this Bible study, to go from the beginning and just read the whole Bible. Because there's so many things you have to go back and understand. Like the 12 tribes of Israel, Daniel and Isaiah. There's a lot of reference there too. And then we'll see in a little bit, well, in just a second actually, some historical changes. So, like I said in the devotion this morning, always just read the Bible and not learn it and then visualize it and write it. I did that in college for some of the chapters. That's what I learned in college when I did the study of the New Testament. But I haven't done it for the whole Bible. And so it is hard for me to comprehend since I don't have enough history, information. I've got references and resources, but where do you begin and where do you end? And so that is complicated. So the next 4 verses is actually, I've got a PowerPoint that'll make it a lot easier for this part. So the next 4 verses just tells you where the 144,000 people are coming from that has the seal forehead, It's the 12 tribes of Israel. Judah, 12,000. Reuben, 12,000. Gad, 12,000. Some people say Asher, 12,000. Nephthalim, 12,000. Manasseh, 12,000. Simon, 12,000. Oh, I added some words, so my highlights messed up. Levi, 12,000. Thing with Levi was, it was Dan, but Dan had some issues, and it's in Judges where he had some historical issues. He was like an idol worshiper, and then he was like the fifth son, and Levi was the sixth son. So Levi took over Dan's tribe, I guess. Issachar, 12,000. Zebulun, 12,000. Again, my highlights messed up. I didn't realize it until just now. I'm so sorry. Joseph, 12,000. So Joseph is Ephraim's father. And so if you look in the previous, references, you'll see Ephraim. In Revelations, you're going to see Joseph. So what I learned was Joseph is Ephraim's father and Manasseh's father. So sometimes they'll say, Joseph, but they also nickname Ephraim Joseph, is from everything that I can gather. And then Benjamin, 12,000. So that's the 144,000 people are the 12 tribes of Israel. They all have 12,000. And just out of interest, I decided, all right, let's look at where the 12 tribes are. And that's why I kind of wanted to go over about the Dan and Joseph thing, because here they're named different. So these are where the 12 tribes are located. And like Judah spelt different in Revelations than it is here. But here's Reuben and Gad and Manasseh, Asher. And it's weird that a lot of times the spellings are a little off. But I think we get the drift, right? And Israel is, I think, right. Well, this says that this is where Gaza is. So maybe Israel's over a little bit. Let's look at our map. I tell you what, sometimes I forget. Is there so much to figure out? So now Israel's all of this. So there's the Gaza Strip. There's Tel Aviv. And so Israel was little, and then it grows and grows. So that kind of gives us an idea. And here's the, I forget what that water is right there. So that's the break. So Judah and Dan got right now the Israel, today's Israel. So that gives you an idea where these 12 tribes of Israel are located. All right, so that covers us to that point. Gives us all where the 144,000 people are. And so then now we're on verse 9. After this, I behold, and lo, a great multitude, which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. So I'm stuck on this one. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne, before the Lamb, and clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. So the way I read it, and I questioned myself and went over it a couple of times. So these 144,000 people have the seal on their foreheads, and then it says great multitude of men that nobody can count. So that must be where we are covered, right? Where other people outside the 144,000 are covered, or is this just talking about the 144,000? So that was my question for that particular verse. I just wrote, is this still in regards to the 144,000, or is it all others? So if you have opinion, let me know. Verse 10, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood around about the throne, and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped God, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto God forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said it to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So I'm like, oh, I know I have a lot of questions, but I love that part, because then it makes your mind think, and then you have to research, blah, blah, blah. So the way that this particular verse is, it says, these are which they came out of the great tribulation, right? So is that the rapture? And so did the rapture happen during the tribulation? So let's go to Daniel 12, 11 through 13. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days, right? That's how long the tribulation is supposed to happen. Blessed is he that waiteth, and come to the 1,305 and 30 days. So about halfway, rapture comes. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand thy lot at the end of the days. So blessed he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. So 1,035 days. So I'm thinking that must be the rapture. I'm not sure. We're going to learn as we go. But so the rapture, or the tribulation, sounds like it's going to be 2,190 days. There should be 1,200 and wrong one. Sorry. Where was that a minute ago? 290 days. 1,290 days. Oh, blessed is it come the 1,305 and 30 days. So I'm just kind of stuck, like, is the rapture going to happen in between during the tribulation or not? So somewhere along the line it talks about 2,000 something days, and then we have this 1,335 days. All right. So something, I just wrote myself a note about that. Then we're back on verse 15. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he sitteth on the throne, shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sunlight on them, nor any heat. And I did Isaiah 49:10. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he hath mercy on them, shall lead them, even by the springs of water shall he guide them. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them into the living fountains of water, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And they did do a reference verse there, but I'm leaving it for the end of the, study today, because I thought it was inspirational. So, all right. So, what are my questions? That's chapter 7. So first one, my question was, is it a flat earth? I don't know. Verse 3, God's people have a seal on their forehead. But then I learned, because I did some more, I wrote these down. These were my random thoughts. Okay, that's for the 144,000 people supposedly per Google. And what does that look like? And what does that mean? Verse 10, does this cover rest of the Christians? That's actually verse 9. My bad. See, I could fix it right as we were talking. About 6 years, 3 months is the 2,335 days. Yes, thank you. I have it written down in my Daniel study, and I didn't pull my Daniel study because I thought it said it right there, and I messed up. But yes. And then the other one was 1,300, 1,030 days. So I'm thinking the rapture's in the middle of tribulation. And that was my next point of the discussion points. Verse 14, rapture happens during the Great Tribulation. Those are one of my random thoughts. That's what it appears to be to me. Verse 17, I didn't decide to share that because I'm going to share it at the end. There's some positive words. A verse you all know. All right. So How's everybody feeling so far? Are you, how's chapter 7 sitting with you? Anything you think we should add to the discussion points? I'm going to grab a drink of tea real quick. It's pretty interesting. I'm really enjoying this. It's really making me stop and think about the history. And it's causing me up to ask a lot of questions and look into things. And it's so funny, whenever I was in church camp when I was a child, we would have these races, who can find certain Bible verses the fastest, blah, blah, and I always won. It was like my thing. I knew my Bible verses. We got lots of rewards for Bible verses. But it's been so many years since I've been not doing like a deep study. When I do my devotions, it's on my phone and everything. And so the nice thing about doing this study, now I'm learning my Bible verses, like, not my Bible verses, but the books of the Bible in order again. It's like, oh, thank goodness, I finally remember that. Debbie Sue, it really is interesting. I agree. It is really interesting. I wish I knew like more history, but we'll get there. It makes us ask those questions. All right, so let's see what else we got, Wayne. On a flat Earth with a powerful enough telescope, you can see every ship on the sea. Ooh, right, Wayne? That was one of the something I watched said if it was a circle, you could only see so many feet away. But if it's flat, you could see, we could see everything that we see. So, good point. That was one of the arguments I heard. My husband and I, we, sometimes you don't have a lot, like, it's just fun to talk about things like that. Does it really matter? I don't know if it really matters, but we enjoy that conversation. Like, it makes our mind think, well, why does the ocean stay where it's at, and then it has waves, and you have hurricanes, but we're still the same? It's like really weird. The whole ocean thing makes no sense. And if it's upside down, how does it hold you but not the ocean? Like, I don't know. But good point, Wayne. Thank you. All right. Then we have chapters 8 through 10. We'll kind of read all those, and I've just got a couple of points there that we'll make, but definitely interesting. All right. When he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar. Where was I? That offer it with the prayers of all saints, upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smokes of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hands. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it onto the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hell and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees were burnt up, and all the grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded, and it was a great mountain burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And then the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. And a third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of waters because they were made bitter. All right, so I wanted to do the definition of wormwood. That's probably one of the things I did go down. It does have intense bitterness. It does have some healing, healing parts. It helps with the stomach. It has different things, but if you have too much of it, it makes you sick. So I thought I had a different one on here. Okay. It improves digestive problems, ease pain, and inflammation, and treats bacterial and fungal infections. However, much research is needed to confirm its health benefits because it contains this thujone, which is what can make you so sick. But wow, it sounds like a great medicine. And then when you read about it, it can, like it said, it's bitter, it causes sourness, it does mess it up. It can kill you. It's poison. The plant's bitter and poisonous nature if you have too much, right? And if all the water's filled up with wormwood, that'd be too much. It would be poisonous and it would be better. So I see that. But what I found interesting too was, as I was researching it, I don't know if I found it over here or not. No, that was the sevens. Okay, that in the Midwest, wormwood is invasive in the Midwest. So I found that real interesting. And I don't know exactly what it looks like. It has pictures. But interesting that this is around, growing wild in the Midwest. And sounds like it would be something you could learn how to do it just right. It would be very helpful, right? All right, Wayne says, censer, a container in which incense is burned, typically during a religious ceremony. Yes, what I was thinking, my mom's side of the family is Catholic. And so I would think that, whenever you have a funeral, like when my grandfather passed, they bring them into the church and they have a container that goes over the body with incense, some kind of blessing over the people that pass. And that was how I pictured the censer. So Wayne, I think that sounds like it's about the same thing. Now it's on the one at my grandpa's funeral was on a chain, and then it had the container with the incense in it. So I bet it's about the same. But it doesn't seem huge, but I guess if you have a fire and you throw it out on the earth, it would catch fire fast, right? Even a cigarette can cause a huge wildfire. So a container with fire casting on the earth, I'm sure it can burn a lot. So I wanted to talk about the wormwood and just to kind of have because I'm trying to make visuals and understanding. So I wanted to look up because I'm thinking a bug and then it ends up being a plant because it's a worm, but it's a wood. So wanted to make sure we knew what that was. All right, verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So I don't know if the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So I'm thinking a third of it didn't have a sun, and a third of it didn't have night. I'm not sure exactly what, but we have Isaiah. Let me make sure I'm in the right chapter. Isaiah 13. I must have missed this one. So I have a note for myself to do it, and I didn't. I try to have all my verses ready, but I missed this one. 13, 9 through 11. Okay, so this is just a reference on that verse, Isaiah 13, 9 through 11. Behold, the day the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Okay, that kind of helps me. So it's like no sun, no moon on that particular third part, right? So now I understand because the moon can give you light. I see. And I will punish the world for their evil and their wicked for their inequity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the trouble. Sometimes those references just kind of helps me make it click. Why did it say sun and night? Was it two separate parts or the same? So now we know it's the same because the moon can give you light. sun can give you light and it's darkness. So that helped me. That reference helped me. All right. Verse 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which yet to sound. I think that's very important because as we're thinking about timing, so we still have three angels that hasn't had any action yet. So as we're thinking about timing, okay, so these four angels have done their thing, and then we're going to get to the other four. I'm trying to figure out how all the timing has happened so far. Wayne says, are these thirds a third of the day? I read this and couldn't comprehend what the third referenced. You know, I wrote myself a lot of notes too, and I have, so let me see. I understand. I think that was hard too. Third part of the moon. Okay, the third part of the sun was smitten. So the sun itself, it's only a third of the sun. So I guess that part shines on this part of the world, and the 2/3 shines on this part of the world. So that part's going to be, but then what gets me is like, okay, then the third part of the moon, is it the same part of the sun and same part of the moon that is smitten? And third part of the stars. But then when you use the reference in Isaiah, it sounds like this third part of the world is going to be dark. There's no light. No moon's going to shine on it. No sun's going to shine on it. No stars are going to shine on it. A third of the day. But it, you know, I think that's where our references help us is, I read this and couldn't comprehend what the third referenced. Right. So I think that's where the Isaiah helped me, is because it says, where did it go? Okay. For the stars of heaven, the constellation thereof, shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. So if it wasn't for this particular verse in Isaiah, I was stuck there too, Wayne. I was very stuck. I have all these random notes. I have questions after questions, and then trying to go back. Okay, where can I figure this out? Where can I figure that? And in my Bible, it gives me, I'm not good with this camera thing. It gives me reference points. And so I was stuck and went back to the reference point. I know that's not the verse we're on, but luckily it gave me reference points I could use, and it helped me know where to look. And then when I read this, it gives me a little more clearance or a little more comprehension that this particular area is not going to have, it's going to be complete darkness. But the whole third, part of the third thing I got confused on, and I did do a little breakdown, we'll see it in a minute, is like, okay, if the third of the men are dying here and a lot of men are dying here, are there going to be any men left? Then I thought, okay, maybe it's a third of what's left. So if you started off with 900,000, a third would be, okay, 300,000's gone. And then the next one, now we have 600,000. What's a third of that? All right, so 200,000 are gone. Because I got stuck on that too. The whole third thing really, really threw me for a loop. And so I think it could be hard. And without reference points, it even becomes harder. And so I had a lot of questions like, wait a minute, a third of this, what's left? How are you going to have a third of the seed gone? Or the seed's blood, but then we're going to, third of these people are third of the sea creatures are gone. So it gets real confusing, and trying to draw it, write it down. And I don't do good drawings, so I don't share that with you guys. I mean, I'm like horrible at drawing, right? These are my angels, north, south, and east, trying to figure out, do we have a flat earth or a round earth? And then all my notes. It gets really confusing, in my opinion. I think, it's like, all right. So, I think that was a great question, Wayne. And hopefully we'll figure out more and more as we go. But so far in that particular situation, thanks to Isaiah, I think it means a third of the earth. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking so far. Okay, great question. All right. We'll see. And it's great that we can all have our own take on it. Like whenever I did the introduction, if anybody watched the introduction to doing this study, you know, there's 4 different views. I'm trying to figure out which view am I, and I think I'm a little bit of every one of them. And even, you know, these scholars and everything, higher people that know a lot more than me, they all have different opinions and different ways to see things. So, and that's why I like doing it with, that's why I'm doing it with you all, because I don't know. And I just want to have discussion, and I figured it also holds me accountable to continue on, because it's easy to just stop and say, oh, it's too difficult. And I've done that before. I had studied the first 6 chapters, and then I never went any further because it becomes difficult, more difficult. And so doing this makes me be held accountable. And I appreciate you all being here and holding me accountable. All right, so let's go to chapter 9. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Yikes. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And here I have a reference point too. All right, Wayne says, more special reference as opposed to a time reference. That makes sense. A spatial reference as opposed to a time reference. That makes sense. Yes, and that's one of the things I think I had a couple of different discussion point slides, and then I just kind of changed it a little bit. But that's definitely, which I just drew it for myself. And I tried to do that last week, and I made it look weird on my PowerPoint. So I decided not to do that again. But yes, trying to think of how, you know, all right, if the Earth's flat, then this third part, it makes so much more sense if it's flat. Then it can make sense to me. But spatial, definitely spatial. For me, at some points. And then time reference on other aspects. So it kind of is all blending in with me. We'll see. I'm trying to track it. So as we go through this, if you have points to add, please add them, because that's how we learn. All right, so on the chapter 9, verse 2, the reference point is Joel, chapter 2, and there's 2 parts of this. So first part is verse 1 through 4. Blow ye trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh. It is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more of it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth them before them, and behold them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. This one is going to be I did it again. A reference point at a different one, but I wanted to go later on in chapter 9, so I thought we would just go ahead and cover it. And the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen shall they run. So shall they run. And the other one was 10. The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So here we don't have the third parts, right? It just tells us what it looks like. And that was the same with Isaiah. But it still allows us to picture, gives us a picture, right? Gives us a visual. What is it going to look like? Even if Revelation's telling us a third part, I think it adds description to what it's going to look like or what it's going to feel like. So I thought that was good, just to help me visualize what does it look like, or what is it going to appear. And I really like the visual, trying to get a visual to kind of understand and where's everything lined up, right? That's how my brain works. There's so many different learning styles and how people take things in. And that's one for me. It's like there's so much that I have to have a little bit of spatial, timing, and also visual. All right, verse 3. And there came out a smoke out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. So, of course, I looked at the scorpions just to kind of see. Most scorpions are okay, but you have some poisonous scorpions. So, sometimes I stop and look at these words, and I don't during this part just because that's a lot. But I wasn't sure what kind of power scorpions have, but they can slither, and I guess their tails are poisonous, and so it gives kind of an idea. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass, the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. All right, this is where I really got stuck, because chapter 7, verse 7:3 says, don't hurt the people with the seal on their foreheads. But then but then here it is again. But if we go back to chapter 8, it tells us that these 3 angels have not, how did it say? Have yet made a sound, right? But in chapter 7, it already tells us that they're not supposed to touch these particular people. So if that's the case, then why is it telling us now, after these 3 angels, which had not had a sound yet, don't touch them? So that's one of the things I'm still figuring out. We could look back at that. And I do have myself some notes here. So here, after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth. So, okay, maybe that's it. So the 4 that's already... that makes sense. Sorry, I just had an epiphany. So the 4 angels at the 4 corners are the ones that are being described, I guess. We have the 7 angels, but those 4 are the ones that are doing things. And they're being told not to touch them. So I guess, again, we go through chapter 8, and even though the other 3 haven't been done, then, and we're here again, not to touch them. So I guess it's just a reminder to the 4 that was at the corners that are doing all these things, the wormwood, the darkness and everything. Now that we're at the next 3, they're going to have to be reminded not to touch these 144,000 people with the seal of God on them. Okay. Sorry, it just had an epiphany. Why? Because I have that as a question, and we'll see it later on, or I'll have it written in my notes. We'll have that question, so remind me. Like, I didn't understand. Okay, so that helps. Sorry for that point. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was at the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. All right, so these poor men, they're not going to, I don't know that they're poor men, but these men, they're not going to touch the ones with the seals, but the other ones, they're going to get tormented for 5 months. And tormented was as the torment of a scorpion. Oh, sounds painful and yucky, right? In those days shall man seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. So there's no escape of this tormenting. They have to deal with it. They can't die. So there's no escape. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared into battle, and on their heads were crowns like gold, and their faces as the faces of men. And they had hair as hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as the breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wing was the sound of chariots and many horses running to battle. Man, just listening to them would be, that's going to be wild, right? Like loud. Very loud. And they had tails into scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. Make sure I didn't miss any points, okay. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose angel in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. 1 woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. So we're down to only having 2 more angels left. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river of Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Okay. Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. I don't know. I think that might be a point that we might come back to. I'm going to write myself a note here. So what my note is going to say is, so this is 9:14. And, you know, even though I read this like 20 times before I come on here, then something hits you, right? So in 9:14, where we're at, if he let loose the four angels, are those the previous four angels? Previous four angels. And if so, but it says that they're on the four corners of the earth, but these were all bound to the great river Euphrates. So I'm thinking they're different, but just writing myself a note to confirm. And what I like to do is look at this, so the next time I write that on my review when we do the review part. So I'm just curious if those are the four. And if so, it says they were prepared for 1 year, 1 month. I have to read it backwards because it messes me up whenever it's like that. 1 month, 1 day, and 1 hour. So if it's the original four, the first four angels, then their terror takes a year, a month, a day, and an hour. Or maybe it's something totally different. So just a question that we could follow up on later, unless somebody else knows. And if you know, let me know. Drop a little line. All right. Let's see. Unless they got repositioned. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Or, that's a great, I'm writing that on my notes. Or did they get repositioned? All right. Great point. Great point. See, I like that. Trying to think of all these things. It's like, don't matter how many times I read it, there's still always something more and more. Thank you for that, Wayne. All right. So we don't know what to figure that out. All right. And the four angels were loosed, which prepared for an hour, a day, a month, a year, for to slay the third part of men. Okay, so did they do their part, like he just said, or did they get repositioned to go slay the third part of men? So, good question. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. Got kind of stuck on that, because if you think about it, it could be 200 million, or it could be, because if you have 1,000, you add 3 zeros. That's how I did it. I added 3 zeros. 200,000. So I don't know. In my mind, that equaled 200 million. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and of brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. The only thing okay, to be funny, I was raised, even though it wasn't Southern Baptist, it was basically Southern Baptist. And I'm like, they always say Southern Baptist teaches fire and brimstone. I'm like, where did that come from? Now I know where that came from. It made me laugh when I read this, because I'm like, they always said, Baptists teach fire and brimstone. So anyway, it was just kind of a funny thing for me after I heard that my whole life. By these three was the third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. Okay, by these three was the third part of the men killed by the fire, by the smoke, the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. All right, let's see. Right. Right. Debbie Sue gets it. That's funny. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents and had heads. With them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither could see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor their sorcerers, nor of their fornications, nor their thefts. That was a lot. Could you imagine the angel just, out of their mouths was fire and smoke and brimstone? All right. So we still have one more angel left. All right. Chapter 10. All right. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud. Doesn't that sound amazing, being clothed with a cloud? It sounds so comfortable and cool. In my condition, I would have had a cardiac event before I could have written this down. I know, right? Go wait. Oh, I could imagine. Could you imagine all this coming to you? It's like, is this for real? What? You gave me this? What? I mean, and he's exiled on Patmos all by himself, and he's seeing all of this and having to write it down. Oh, I don't think I could handle that. I'd be like, I give. I'm with you, Wayne. I give. That's a lot. And, so I just can't imagine. As I'm trying to add visual to this, I'm like, what? Like thinking about how the locusts look with the long hair and the lion teeth. I'm like, wow. Could you imagine? I couldn't imagine. I couldn't even though I'm trying to picture it, I still don't have a good visual of what this possibly could look like. So maybe that's what's on that 3-eye atlas or something. Right, Debbie Sue? And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth. So I'm thinking big, right? If you have your right foot on the sea and the left foot on the earth, it's got to be a big angel, and then he's in a cloud. He has a rainbow on his head. His face is a beautiful sun, and his feet are fire. I'm just thinking of this huge angel. That's how I pictured it. And cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. So, yeah, that even adds to my whole vision of him being this huge angel. And then when he speaks as loud as a lion roars. So it has to be big, right? And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. I'm like, I read that like several times. I'm like, what could it be? What could it be? What is it? Curiosity kills the cat. I'm like, what did he not tell us? He's telling us right here that he can't tell us what was said. What the heck? You've told us all this. Why can't you tell us? And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven. All right, so last one here. Last reference I have here is Daniel 12:7. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. All right, so per this reference, we know that at this point, this angel's got a foot on the sea, foot on the earth. He's reaching to heaven. And according to this reference, this is going to be the end of all things, right? It should be finished. So let's see if that's what Revelation tells us. All right. And swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. So that kind of goes with our reference point, right? But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book, which is open, in the hand of the angel, which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said to him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand, and I ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many people and nations and tongues and kings. So, wow. I know, and that's where I've stopped so far. I'm like, oh, there's so much. It's so intense. It's like reading a novel. So anyway, before many peoples, nations, and tongues and kings. In Daniel, it does tell us that, like, the tribulation can't happen until God's word reaches every inch of the earth. And, that's why we have to go spread the word. We want to make sure everybody knows. And the tribulation can't even happen until all these people know that it's at least out there. No matter the language barrier, no matter location. And so this verse 11 kind of reminds me of that. Thou must prophesy again before many peoples, nations, and tongues and kings. So you got to get out there and tell them about God and Jesus, Wayne says, I'm glad this Bible study is in the morning instead of the evening. Otherwise, I have nightmares, right? I do. I have a lot of things going on. So sometimes I'm doing my studies at night. I do a little bit in the mornings, but a lot at night. And then I'm up for hours. And my mind just goes, vroom, 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 vroom. And then I go back in my office and work some more because it's so interesting. It's just like, what? And then trying to figure out, what does this look like? What does that look like? Where does this fit in? All right, so let's look at this for just a minute here. All right, there's myself. Okay, so my little thing fell off here. So just to kind of recap on what we've learned, is where I got stuck at first was the first angel that they discuss, but it's not the very first angel. I think at the beginning where it says in chapter 8 about there were 7 angels, but another angel came. Well, the other angel came a different way. And then they're the ones with the syringe, with the the container with the fire, and then the thunder, lightning, earthquake. And he casted the fire on the earth. Then the 7 angels came. So that's where I kind of got stuck for a minute. And I studied it and I had questions. That was one of my random questions. And then when I was going back over it this morning to prepare for today, it dawned on me that it wasn't part of the 7 angels. Because I was kind of confused, which I knew it wasn't, but I didn't know where it come from. But it's kind of like the introduction of the 7 angels. So this angel came not from the 7 seals, but away and into where the 7 angels are, and kind of started the process, right? So the first angel, what Wayne led to earlier, what about this whole third thing? So I kind of just was writing these down. So the first angel, the third of the trees burnt, but all the grass is burnt. Find that interesting. If all the grass is burnt, that's a lot of resources, because I always think, okay, if something bad happens, I'm going to eat wild animals and do all that stuff. But if all the grass is burnt, are they going to have food to eat? Because they eat a lot of grass, things like that. Then our resources go lower and lower and lower. And then here, only a third of the sea becomes blood, and a third of the sea creatures are died. So at least we could still have some fish and stuff, maybe. It doesn't say all the sea becomes blood, right? Hey, LW, thanks for joining in. I appreciate you. So that's interesting that, the grass is going to be burnt, but we'll still have some things in the sea. So that's good. Third angel, great star, fell, which is called the wormwood, burning like a lamp. So the wormwood's interesting. It has some things that will help, but it's going to be covering the waters, and many men die from that. So, but the third of fire for the rivers. So third of the sea becomes blood, third of the rivers are on fire, third of the trees are burnt, And then we just, fountains of water. I'm thinking maybe waterfalls is what that's talking about. And many men die from the waters. Special K, how are you? It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Hope London's treating you well. Fourth angel. Third of the sun is smitten. So this is where we start getting the dark. And that's where I was a little confused, but we talked through it a minute ago. So we know that that third part is not going to have any light. No stars, no night, no day. And it was confusing, but the Isaiah really cleared that up for us. Fifth angel was the key to the bottomless pit, the smoke, the scary locusts. Let's all not dream about those locusts. That would be horrible. All right, so the question I had here, though, don't hurt the men with the seal on the foreheads. 9:4, but 7:3 talks about it. So I asked the question, what is the timing? And I think we talked through that part. It's just don't touch them at all, right? So they're telling the first 4 angels, don't touch them. And then when the last 3 angels are coming about to do their action, then we are, they're just reminding them, don't touch those men. And I think that's what we kind of decided. I'm blessed. Thank you. Just very busy. Had to show love. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by and showing some love. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully I could catch one of your lives soon. Be safe out there. 6th angel. Lose the 4 angels bound to Euphrates River. And I wrote my note on that. And we're going to check into that. And I'll get back with you next time about what we think that means. But was that 200 million horsemen? I wrote my question there. 7th angel tells us the mystery of God should be finished. All right. So that was the review of those. Anything that we should add? Thank you. Anything we should add to those 7 angels? It was hard to leave last time without knowing what the 7th seal was. But I'm glad we stopped at that point, because I had no idea these 7 angels were going to be so complicated and so busy, right? All right. So, we're on the earth. So, my random questions. I have next to me, I write an agenda, and then I have all my questions and all my reference points. So, I have a lot of questions. Where on earth do you think these will happen? So, just as Wayne mentioned, I was saying I have these questions too. Are these... So, okay, going back to this particular part. Third of the part of the sun is smitten. Third of the trees are burned. Third of the sea becomes blood. Do you think this third is all in the same part of the earth? Or do you think this third of the earth is going to have no trees, and this third of the earth is going to have blood in the sea? You know, so I'm with Wayne with the whole... What does this third mean? So those are my questions. Do we think they're happening in different places? Now, remember, the 4 angels are on each corner of the earth. So I would think this angel would do this third, this. So I'm thinking they might be in different parts. The other thing, like hearing about the horses that we learned earlier and the different things they're going to cast on the earth, then these 7 angels, I just want to know which part of the earth is going to be the best, and that's where I'm moving. Right? It's like, oh, this part's not going to be touched, or this part has the least amount. I don't want to live where the locusts live. I don't want to live where the sea is blood. And I definitely want grass, but all grass is burnt. So that's not going to help me any. What about you? Like, if you're thinking about homesteading or anything, aren't you kind of looking, going, what part of the earth should I be at? Could be parts all over to make up a third. Yes, true. That is very true. And maybe, you know, we're just at chapter 10. Maybe it's going to give us more information. I don't know. But we do have, they are at different corners of the earth, which tells me maybe each corner is going to have something different. And that's, you would think it'd be broken up in a fourth. So they've got to overlap somehow, some way, right? So, but right, could be parts all over to make up a third. It's true. You have 9 rivers, 3 of them anywhere located could be the ones that have the fire on them. So that's a good point. I hope it tells us, because I want to move to the part of the good earth. No, I don't know. All right, so we talked about the 7 Antarctica. Now we're stretching it. Oh no. I don't know, Wayne. Antarctica. Sounds like a good idea though, right? But I don't know. Okay. I had this little weird thing on my screen. I wasn't sure. So we slides of the seven angels. We talked about that. Sets the tone for the seven. The beginning angel sets the tone for the seven is what I wrote on my notes, because I had wrote myself a note, like I said a minute ago. What's that first angel? What is it? What's the point of this? Or not the first angel, but what's the point of the random angel? So I just wrote myself a note. It says the beginning angel sets the tone for the seven. Okay, so then the next thing that I have listed here is a timeline. No grass to burn there, right? Melted snow, we would have fresh water. If that's all on fire, then the icebergs would melt and all the snow, and we would have water at least, right? You could live a long time with just water. And we can make snow cream until it all melts. Wayne is so funny. So I'm trying to get an idea of this whole, like, what's going on, right? So the timeline is, it starts off with John writing letters to the seven churches. The throne with the elders and the beasts. The book is opened by Jesus. We have the seals with the horses. The horses go in action and do whatever. And my question is then, is the rapture happens during this tribulation, right? So let me do this here. So I would think, I'm going to write myself a question mark here. Beginning of the, Great Tribulation. I don't know the answer to that, but maybe. I don't know. So this is just like a living document. I just update it for each lesson. So add stuff. I add up my email if you come up with something, or you're doing your study and you're like, oh, what about this and what about that? Or add this. I'm wide open because I'm just learning. Pigeons taste like chicken. Have you had a pigeon, Wayne? I've never eaten a pigeon. I don't know. They're kind of stinky when you go to the zoo. But chickens are stinky too. But there's a lot of them. As long as you don't eat the polar bears. There's a lot of fish. Oh, I bet we could get a lot of salmon too. That's an idea. All right, Wayne, you gonna make us one of those, what do you call them? Those little shed things that are on the ice for the cold? Let's go. I'm ready. This sounds like the safest place. I agree. Book is opened by Jesus. So is that the beginning of the Great Tribulation is my question. Seals with the horses go into action. So then I wrote a question mark. Does the rapture happen? Because in the, verse 7? Or, sorry, chapter 7, it talks about 7:14, that these are the men from the Great Tribulation, right? So does rapture happen in between, during the tribulation? Is this where it happens? Because we really haven't started on the angels yet at this point. Whenever we talk about that in chapter 7, this is before the 7th seal is open. So that's why I have it in this particular spot, because on chapter 8 is when we open the 7th seal, which has the 7 angels. Which is the next point. Last seal releases the 7 angels. The angels go in action. Then I wrote, these do not happen at the same time. See verse 8:13. Okay, so let's go back to, that's where, I know what it's talking about. Revelations, let's go back there just for a minute. And it says, and I behold, and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, sing with a loud voice, woe, 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 to the inhabitants of earth, by reason of other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. So I'm thinking here, the angels go into action with their assignments. These do not happen at the same time. So I'm going to write myself a note. I think the first 4 angels are at the same time. But then the last 3 happen separately. I always spell separately wrong. E-R-A-R, guys. There's an E somewhere. We'll see. It'll give me a little red. Nope, it didn't give me a red one. I don't know. I think there's an E somewhere there that I missed. Alright, the last three happened separately. Separately in... Whoops. In order. That doesn't look right. It's going to drive me crazy. That don't look right either. In order. Okay. That's how I'm taking it so far. How do you feel about the timeline? Do you think that's about right? And we don't know for sure. That's why that's question marks. But that's how I see it thus far. If you see it differently, let me know. Because, you know, we all have different viewpoints and could take in different things, right? Alright, that's where I'm at. So then, my question to you is, what has surprised you so far? Covered a lot today. Thank you. Off to the cardiac rehab. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate your humor and all your insights on everything. I really appreciate it. Good luck at cardiac rehab. I appreciate you. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. So, what has surprised you so far? For me, the seal on God's people. I know it might be for the 144,000, but that part I didn't know. And then last week, finding out that Jacob is called Israel. That's why you have the tribes of Israel, because they're Jacob's children. So they're really the tribes of Jacob. That surprised me so far. And then the 7 churches are in Turkey and not near Israel. That really surprised me. So let me know what has surprised you. Still learning all these things, but those are things that are just kind of caught me off guard so far. And then, any questions are you contemplating so far amongst this Bible study? For me, the things that I'm still like taking in so far is, what is the significance of these 7 churches? What is their point? Like, I just feel like a sheep that I've listened to all these things, and I have this narrow mind, and I'm trying to expand it. And I've always heard that, like, you have to have the Gentiles and Jews and all these things. But what are these 7 churches? I'm not understanding what these 7 churches are for real. Like, we know what they do, why God likes them, what God likes about them, what God doesn't like about them. But what is their significance in Revelations? That part I don't understand. Debbie Sue says, yes, the 7 churches being in Turkey. Yes, that threw me off too. I was sure they're right there by Israel. It was crazy to see that they were not by Israel at all. So there's a lot of questions for me, like what their significance is and where this all fits in. Are we supposed to be a representation of one of those churches? I don't know. My mind just kind of gets away with myself, but trying to figure that out. So hopefully, since he's writing a letter to these 7 churches, I would think by the end we would have clarification. And if not, I'm keeping these questions. So at the end of the study, any of them that aren't answered might just take a whole day, a whole Bible study before moving on and finding our answers or something. I'm still like interested in Israel's history because it was Canaan, Canaan. Then you had the 12 tribes of Israel, which is really Jacob. Then they really weren't a country. Then somewhere along the line, they became a country for a minute. And that's where I'm stuck right now. Then in 700 something BC, they're no longer recognized as a country or anything. Until 1948, they didn't become a nation until 1948. So I'm really stuck there. Didn't go down that rabbit hole today. I did last week, but I know it'll throw me off because it threw me off last week. So I'm just keeping that in the back of my mind as I'm reading this. If I get more information or more reference points, I just want to add to that as we go along. So my point is Jacob's descendants versus nation. So we're being told we need to support Israel. We need to support Israel, but yet, you know, are we really talking about Jacob's descendants? Because that's the tribes of Israel. Or are we talking nation of Israel? So, and then, you know, doing these angels. Now I have some questions there, like, the 4 angels Do they get repositioned because now they have to slay the men? So just trying to figure it all out. I'm trying to answer some of these questions like that. I try to answer for the next week. So that one I think we can answer for next week. So that's what I have so far. And I'm trying to think. Those are most of my notes. So now I have my prayer request list. I added a lot of people on my prayer request list this week. I felt like I kept forgetting everybody. So it's easier if I do it on my door so we can see it, right? Whoops, I'm in the way. So far, if you have a prayer request list, add it. So Levi is, if you watch Loyalty Matters, that's her uncle. He was in ICU. I haven't got an update, so I kept him on there. Amy, she participates in the in a lot of my videos. She's getting ready to downsize and have a little bit of life change, so I want to add her there. Last week we talked about adding our children and peace and all that are suffering. And I guess I was so into peace, I wrote it twice. Such a mess, aren't I? Somebody said America. Then we have Sally's Reality. I put her on the list. I'm thinking about her a lot lately. Yvonne, she fell and got hurt, so I wanted to add her to our list. Miss Debbie Sue's got it. I know you're on here, Miss Debbie Sue, but wanted to add you to the prayer list because I know you have a surgery coming up soon. And then, whoops, still not used to all of this. And then Dean, if you watch Dean on TV, his car broke down and his mom was in a wreck, so I wanted to add them. And then Wayne, he goes to the cardiac rehab. I wanted to add him. So is there anybody else that you could think of that we need to add to our prayer request list? I'm going to try to do better at keeping this up as I go along. I used to have like a piece of paper that I did it on. Now that I have it on here, I'm trying to be better for my morning prayers. Oh, you're very welcome, Miss Debbie Sue. I think of all of you guys. All of you have mean so much to me, and I really appreciate you supporting me and going these journeys with me. So I want to definitely pay it forward and keep you all in my prayers. And I know that you all pray for me as well, and I really appreciate it. That's what a community is, right? Anybody else have anybody to add? I'd be glad to add it. And if I miss it, send me an email. I'd be glad to. I don't always check my email, but when I do my daily devotions, the phone I use for my email, I check it then. So I usually just check it in the mornings. But please, if you think of something that I need to add, I'd be glad to. All right, then I want to leave you. This was supposed to have been the reference point for chapter 7, verse 17, but we all know this prayer. I just thought it was a good verse to close up today. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So, we read all this crazy stuff. It's like wild looking about everything that's happening in these chapters. But end of the day, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I love it. And I was glad that was a reference point. I just didn't want to add it then. I wanted to add it at the end. So next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to go live. I can do Wednesday, but at this point, unless somebody says something, I think I'm going to wait until December 4th, and we'll do chapters 11 through 13, maybe even more. I haven't looked at them. I would love to get 11 through 16. That would finish that whole section, but we'll see. So the next one will be December 4th, and since Thanksgiving, and I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. I hope it goes well for you guys. Any questions? Oh, I still have my Israel one up because I'm still working on it. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate it. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you being here. Bye-bye.